How is it going, everybody? Welcome to Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is on the Xbox Series X. Today we are flying the PMDG 737-800 from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, down to Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And this flight is expected to take approximately 34 minutes in the air, and it should be some pretty interesting weather in Calgary right now. If I'm just looking at the METAR for Calgary, it is saying that they have currently 1.5 mile visibility and overcast 500 feet. So we'll be pretty close to minimums as we get into Calgary here today. And yeah, I just want to welcome everyone for this flight. We are taking here just the PMDG livery, and yeah, so we're gonna get this flight started. This is the Edmonton International Airport. I am going to get the scenery for it, but I have just got this, so yeah, we're gonna jump right into the flight deck right now. So let's head right in there. All right, so we got the APU booted up, and the IRSs are aligning. So the first thing we're gonna do is jump down here into the FMC, sorry, and if you see I have the little mouse here, it's because I have a mouse hooked up to my Xbox, but this is all on the Xbox Series X. So we're going to go into the position, and CYEG is the airport code that we are at, and we are at gate 68, so we'll plug that in there, and we'll take our GPS left coordinate, plug that in there, there we go. Alright, so let's go to the route. So obviously we're at CYEG, and the runway for today's flight we'll be taking off from is runway 12 in Edmonton. And our destination is Charlie Yankee Yankee Charlie, or the Calgary International Airport. We won't put a flight number in for today's flight, as this is will be a very quick flight, and I'm hoping to get myself more set up with some liveries and scenery here soon. So let's go to the route page and look at the flight plan. So there's going to be no SID, but we're going to go direct to Oscar Lima India Mike India Olimi, and then we're going to be taking the Airway Quebec 814. So we'll plug that one in there, and we'll be going to AdVox. So we'll plug that one in there. So that is today's entire route right there. We'll be going to the departures page, and right here, so we'll be taking off for runway 12, and there is no SID, so we'll just keep it how it is like that. And on the arrivals page, we are going in for runway 17 left, and the AdVox 8 star, and no transition. And we'll execute that in there. Okay, so we'll go over to the legs page and make sure we have no flight discontinuities or vectors. So we'll put that one in there. And looks like the flight plan legs page looks good. We'll go to our init ref. Our fuel today is going to be 11,000 pounds of fuel, so we'll set that in there, and we'll go back to the payload. And then, let's see here. Our passengers will be 12 first class, and it looks like 102 for the economy. So a total of 114 passengers there. And for our cargo, we're going to be taking 2850 in the forward and aft. So we'll put that in there. Alright, so our gross weight comes out to a total of 131.5. Put that in there. We're going to have no reserves, and our cost index is going to be 17. And our cruising altitude is going to be flight level 260 for this flight. And the wind, average wind, is going to be 217 at 8. And we'll plug that in there. Perfect. Transition altitude 18,000 feet. And we're going to execute that page. And hopefully we get no errors, and it looks good. On the N1 limit, we're just going to select this D rate. Hopefully the EFB will be coming to the 737 on the X block soon, so we'll be able to do all this a little bit more officially, but this is what we have for now. And takeoff references, we're going to do a flap 5 departure out of here, and our center of gravity is going to be 22.7, so we'll put that one in there. And we'll go to the next page, and right now the wind at Edmonton is 130 at 10 knots, I believe, and yes, that is right there. So we'll put that in there, and we'll just put a 0% slope. We'll go back to our takeoff page and get our numbers in, 141, so that means 141 plus 5, so it'll be 146 put in here. And our altitude, we are cleared up to 26,000 feet. We'll put our final altitude in this box. And then as a heading is going to be 120. That's the heading off runway 12. Perfect. Alright, so we'll come back down to our FMC here and make sure our climb looks good. Yep, our cruise, so we'll be going at Mach 0.64, and our descent also looks like that will be fine. Back to the legs page, and that is going to be set up good there. And we'll go to the pushback page here, and we'll just set this up. We'll go 500 feet, seems to work good around here. We'll remove the chocks and have them put the tug, connect the tug to us. We can go to our altimeter setting, and right now in Edmonton it's 2979, so we'll put that in there right now. We'll do a recall. That looks good. Alright, for our pressurization, like we said, we're going to go up to 26,000 feet, and the landing altitude in Calgary is 3,600 feet, which is very high. And there we go. So that'll be our landing altitude. Our pressurization APU bleed is on. We can turn our seatbelt sign on and chime onto auto. That works for me. Yaw damper can come on now. And we will put our flight directors on. And that works out well. Alright. We will also turn the brightness of this down just a little bit. Just so it's a little bit easier to see, and on this one as well. Perfect. Alright, so I think we should be good to go. So we're going to start this, see what they have to say.
Go ahead. We've been cleared for pushback and start, tail straight out. Roger that. Ready for push straight back. Brakes off. Brakes released. Brakes released. Here we go.
Alright, so here comes the pushback. So we got our fuel pumps on and our pressurization. We'll set the packs off and we will start engine number 2. And that engine is spooling up nice. At 25 on the N2, we'll introduce fuel. There's 25, and the fuel will be introduced. That's looking nice. And looks like we have a good start on number 2. So we'll put engine start switch number 1 onto ground, and we'll start to start up engine number 1. And there it goes, spooling right up. 25% on the N2. We'll introduce fuel. I don't know if you heard that little click. That's the engine starter switch going back from ground to off. So now we're going to put that on to continuous. And looks like we have a good start on engine number 1 as well.
Pushback complete. Parking brake, please.
We will set the parking brake.
Brake set.
We'll arm the auto throttle, go VNav and LNav. LNav, yeah, it won't work because there's no waypoint in this certain area. So once we get in there, we'll activate LNav.
Pin is pulled. Watch for the salute and release from guidance on your right. Have a good flight.
So there goes that one. We'll start the generators. Put the bleeds on. Turn APU bleed back off, and we can turn the APU off. We can now get our probe heat on, window heat on, and we'll turn this to Gen 1. We'll give the cabin a ding, and select flaps 5. And put traffic on, and turn our TCAS to TARA, or transponder, sorry. Auto brake, go to RTO. Just another quick look at the panel to make sure everything is looking as it should, and it seems like it is in good order. So we'll come to our systems page and make sure our flight controls are working. So all the way back, forward, left, right, and rudder left and rudder right. Okay, perfect. So those are working. Flaps are set 5. Parking brake is auto brake is RTO. And we're going to turn our taxi and runway turnoff lights on, and looks like we are good to go. We had the parking brake on there. No big deal. Alright, so we'll be going to runway 12 in Edmonton. So we'll be taking this right here. This one actually. That just goes to a parking spot. Once again, we'll just make sure flap set 5, auto throttle is armed, flight director is on, VNav is armed, and we can turn that off. And yeah, pressurization is set, bleeds are on, APU is off, and we're ready to go. So right here, we'll be taking this this turn off, and we'll be right on to runway 12. Alright, we'll stop here at the hold short. We're going to turn our landing lights on, taxi light comes off, and our strobe lights come on. And we are good to go. We'll turn our clock on here, and we're going to enter the runway. Alright, lined up, runway 12. We'll advance the throttles to around 50%. Once they hold, here we go, and toga. Check. Throttle hold. Handles rotate.
Positive rate of climb.
Charlie Yankee, Quebec, Foxtrot Airport information, Sierra 2000 Zulu.
There we go. And we'll hit LNAV. LNAV dead, and LNAV is coming alive. We'll go to flaps 1. And flaps up. And we're heading into the chute. Still hand flying. And there we go. We broke out of the clouds. I'll hand it over to the autopilot now, And we'll put the auto brake to off position, and the gear lever can come to the off position. And look at that. Wow. So nice. Once we broke out of those clouds. Alright, coming up on 10,000 feet, we'll turn the landing, runway turn off lights off, and the engine start switches can go to the off position. We'll turn our visibility to 40 miles. Alright, well that was a very nice departure out of Edmonton. We'll just make sure everything's cleaned up here. We'll give the cabin a little chime. Lights are off that need to be off. A pressurization is set. APU is off. Bleeds are engine 1 and 2 are on. APU's off. And looks good. Flaps are up. And yeah, gear lever is in the off position. We'll just take this and swing this around to the right position. And perfect. Alright, so we have an airtime of 34 minutes. So we should be in Calgary within the next half an hour. Alright, so we just passed through 18,000 feet. So we'll go standard on the altimeter. And we'll work our way up to our cruising altitude of flight level 260 or 26,000 feet. So we'll get there very, very shortly. Alright, so we are at our top of climb at flight level 260, 26,000 feet. And our top of descent is in about 20 miles, less than 20 miles. We'll come back looking here. And just our initial approach fix is at Vic T right here. And I'm just looking at the chart for our ILS 17 left approach into Calgary, and we need to be at 7,100 feet. So seeing as our top of descent is closing in on us, I'll turn our altitude down to 7,100 feet, and that should give us the VNAV profile that we will hit Vic T at 7,100 feet, and our initial approach fix into Calgary. I will also put in our approach course. It will be 165. And I'll put that in here as well. And our localizer frequency is going to be 109.15. 0.15. So that's going to go in there. And 109.15 is going to go into our nav frequency as well. As for our approach page here, as you can see, the ILS 17 left, the frequency and the course is in here as well. And we'll be taking a flaps 30 landing, so we'll be at 140 knots when landing. And that looks good as well. Go back to the legs page. As you can see over here in the progress page, Calgary is going to be in 108 nautical miles. So we're closing on that very shortly. And our minimums for the ILS 17 left is going to be 38.06. So I'm going to have a lot of scrolling to do here. This might take a little while. So I will come back with you guys when I'm able to put our minimums in as 38.06, because that's going to take a while scrolling through all of this. Alright, so our minimums now here is 38.06, and we have just started our initial descent into Calgary. So I'm going to also look at the weather for Calgary right now, and it's going to be a fun one. Right now they're saying 2-mile visibility with mist, overcast 800 feet, and the altimeter is 2971, so I'll put that in here for now. So we should be fine for getting in. It's saying overcast 800, and our minimums are about 200 feet in Calgary, so we should be able to get in just fine, but we'll make sure we keep an eye out for that. And the wind is coming 160 at 10 knots, so we'll have a pretty good headwind for landing, which is nice. Auto brakes 3 for this landing, and we'll give the cabin a ding saying that we have just started our initial approach or descent into Calgary. Temperature is also -7, so we will probably put on the engine anti-ice switches once we get a little bit lower here. So I'll come back to you guys when we get a little bit closer into Calgary. Alright, so we are now passing through 18,000 feet, so we'll put the altimeter to 2971, as that is the altimeter in Calgary at the moment. So we are 68 miles from the airport, and we should be arriving in Calgary in the next 15 minutes around. Somewhere over there amongst all that cloud, that's where Calgary is, down there a little ways. But it's a nice view of the mountains here, and this approach into Calgary is a very scenic one. It is a very nice route, especially if you're flying from Edmonton to Vancouver or Calgary to Vancouver over the Rocky Mountains. It's a very nice flight, so we'll be doing that one sometime here soon too as well. So yeah, I'll catch up with you guys when we are starting our approach into Calgary. Alright, so our ATC was very lucky and cleared us direct to Victi. So we'll plug that in there right now, and we'll start heading over that way. Very nice ATC, that guy, I must say. It is a very nice little shortcut rather than doing all those turns and everything like that. So we'll take that routing, you know. And we'll close this in on around 20 miles. So let's make sure our check. So auto brakes on 3. Our Barrow's 3806 for the minimums, and that checks out. Our VREF is going to be flaps 30 at 140. That works. Will be flaps 30. Yep, speed brake. We'll arm that here in a bit. The LS frequency 109.15 checks onto the chart, and also it checked in our FMC there. Since we are passing, well, we're close to 10,000 feet, we'll turn our engine start switches onto continuous, as well as we'll turn our runway and landing lights on, just so we're visible. And we'll make sure that we have our engine anti-ice switches ready to go if required. Alright, so we just passed through 10,000 feet at 9,500 feet. We'll give the cabin a ding and just make sure that our panel above is looking good. Pressurization is good. Bleeds are still good. Engine switches on continuous, and our lights are on. We are not in the clouds yet. It is +4 where we are right now, it's telling outside air temperature, and we are looking good. Vitki is coming in 12 miles, and that'll be our initial approach fix into Calgary. Alright, we'll go speed introvert, and we'll try to get down to 200 knots. We'll put the speed brake out here. Help us slow down a little bit. And we will arm the approach mode. We are 16 miles out from runway 17 left. Four miles away from Vitki, and we're going to be stopping at 7,100 feet here, and there's 200 knots, so we'll bring the speed brake back into the armed position. And we'll wait here to capture the glide slope as our diamond is starting to come down. Take a little bit closer, 10 nautical miles of distance now, and we'll put our heading to 166. That will be our approach course into Calgary. And we just caught our localizer. And our glide slope will be soon to capture. And there we go. So we captured our glide slope and localizer. We are 10 miles out. We'll put the flaps down to 1. .180 knots. We'll go flaps 2 and 5. And we'll just verify it. Flaps 5, perfect. And we're going to be slowing down to 160 knots. Yeah, that sounds about right. We are going to be starting to come into the clouds here. We need some speed brake. We'll throw the gear down to help it out a little bit. 2,500 feet above the ground. We'll go flaps 10. Verify. .150 knots. We'll slow it down to flaps 15. And it is plus 4 degrees, so we do not need anti-ice. Flaps 25 and flaps 30. And our VREF speed of 140. And verify flap 30. And we'll arm the speed brake. And we are looking outside for the runway now. 1,700 feet above the ground. .0 degrees. We're going to throw on the engine anti-ice just in case, just to be sure. I am starting to see the ground a little bit out of the side of the window there, and I am starting to see the ground a little bit out the front window now. We are 3 miles. There's 1,000 feet. Still looking for the runway. Still do not see the runway. And I think those are the approach lights right there. There's 500 feet. And I do have the runway in sight. I see the approach lights and the lighting system. We'll go autopilot off and auto throttle off. And I do have the runway in sight.
Approaching minimums. Minimums.
There's minimums. We're a little bit off to the right. We'll go back, correct it a little bit.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
And hold it. There we go. A little bit to the right of the center line. But we'll take that landing. .80 knots. We'll go manual braking and the reversers can come out. And there we go. We made it to Calgary. 32 minutes. We'll take this exit right here. Make sure we're clear of the runway. We'll just stop right here. Throw on the parking brake and get ourselves cleaned up a little bit. Auto brake can come off and our speed brake can come up. Perfect. Doesn't need to do that. And our engine start switches can go to the off position. Our strobe light can come off. Landing lights can come off as well. All right. And our flaps can come up. Welcome to Calgary, everybody. It took 32 minutes. And we'll taxi into the gates right here. And we can turn our APU on. Now that we're in the taxi apron area, runway lights turn off can come on. We'll turn the engine anti-ice off. And we'll just pick a gate over here somewhere. We'll take this gate right in here. There we go. And we will turn the APU on, the generators for it on, and the engine fuel shut off can go on. APU bleed come off, anti-collision light off, engine start switches are off, seatbelts can come off, fuel pumps can come off, probe heat off, APU gen and IRSs will be shut off as well. Flight director is off. Window heat off. Parking brake is set and transponder is off as well. And that looks like the aircraft is cleaned up. Okay. Well, I'd like to thank you guys for coming along with me on this flight today. It was a short one. Hopefully, in the next one, we can do a little bit of a longer flight. Maybe we'll go from Calgary to Vancouver, something like that. I'd like to stay within Canada. I'm from Canada, and I'd love flying within Canada. So if you have any route suggestions and maybe livery for me to get that we can do with Canadian aircraft companies, airlines, sorry, couldn't think of the word there, routes that we can do, some interesting routes within Canada, or even routes from outside Canada coming into Canada, or into Canada going outside of Canada. Just, I want to make this, just all these videos focused around airports within Canada and flights going to or from within Canada, just everything with Canada. That's where I'm from, and you know, I don't see a lot of Canadian routes being flown a lot, so I want to put that out there and have some more Canadian routes flown. So I'd like to thank you guys for this first video. I will definitely sharpen up my skills, a little bit rusty, and yeah, so I'll see you guys in the next one, and please like, comment, subscribe, give me suggestions where we should go next, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.